Hello guys and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be going over my race bike for the 2022 triathlon season, and that is the Giant Trinity Advanced Pro 2017, or might be actually 2018 model. So as you can see, hat, jumper matching. This may or may not have been on purpose. I'll let you guys decide that. And actually one thing I just to think of then is, I've said this video, this is my bike for this race season, as if I'm getting a new bike every season. That is not the case. This is actually the first bike I've had first new bike I've had in a while, and it's not even new, it's off Facebook Marketplace. However, hopefully, if I race well this season and I get some race results under my belt, and you guys like and subscribe this video, I may be able to get a bike sponsor, and then we would have a brand new shining bike with probably disc brakes that is tens of thousands of pounds that I could review and analyze for you. So like and subscribe, and I'll get some good race results, and then hopefully in the coming months we can do a video about my brand new bike. Anyway, let's not get ahead of myself. Let's get through this race season first on this bike, which is an absolute beast, by the way. And yeah, let's get into this video. Enough the waffle and start breaking it down. Right, okay, so let's get into now the nitty-gritty of the bike and start breaking all the components down. So to start with, let's start down with the Groupset, and I'm running a SRAM 11 speed, or SRAM Red 11 speed. Now this is pretty cool. I love the blips where you can just sort of click and the gears change. I think it's awesome. Is it any more efficient than, say, just your standard Ultegra? Probably not, no. I think the one benefit for me is you've just not got friggin' wires everywhere, which makes it a lot easier, and I think a little bit more efficient and less chance of anything going wrong with wires coming undone. And I just had so many problems with that with my previous bike that not having to worry about all that, just for me, is just peace of mind. And on top of that, like I said, it's cool to have those buttons you can just press to change gear, and this is the first time I've actually had electronic shifting. Would I probably buy it new? Probably not. It came on the bike though, so yeah, awesome. In terms of the cassette size at the back, it's an 1130, but the chain's not long enough to go into that 32 on the rear cassette, so it can only go into the 28. I don't really go into it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. At some point, I'll probably change the cassette to an 1128, just so I don't forget in a race, go into it and the chain gets stuck, which actually happened once on a ride, which was really annoying, and it was on quite a busy road actually, and probably wasn't the best thing to happen. Anyway, on to the front chainring. This is just a 1x, and I think the 1x looks frigging cool, and that is the main reason why I've actually kept it. In terms of going on my rides, I can get away with the gearing, it's not too bad, especially on just sort of flat and rolling terrain. The size of the chainring is 54, so it's not actually that big for just a 1x. I think typically people run sort of a 58 or 62, so it's not that big of gearing. So in terms of being out on the road, I don't really often find that I have undergeared and I need more gears. There was one time last week actually that I went up the brickworks in Cheshire, and that was quite hilly, and it was hard because I was having to push that 350, 400 watts to just get up the hill and not gear out. So, I mean, if you're going for a zone 2 ride and you want to go in the hills, yes, that is not the best. But in terms of on the flat, on the normal sort of rolling terrain, it's absolutely fine. And on the trainer, which I do a lot of my work on anyway, it doesn't actually matter what the gearing is, especially for an erg mode. So, yeah, it works, it's great. And for me, the biggest bonus is it looks really, really cool. And yeah, you do save actually watts from not having the front derailleur. I think it's just about 3 watts. So it's not massive, but I guess the added bonus is there. But if I'm being honest, yeah, that's cool, but the main reason is because I think it looks friggin' awesome is the reason for running it. And actually, it came with the, well, this is different to the actual front chainring, but I've got the Quark DZQ Spider power meter on there. That came with the bike, and that is awesome. The power reading is very, very accurate, and it reads pretty much the same as my trainer, which is the TAC-X Neo, which is sort of, I think it's a good trainer. Well, it is a good trainer, and the fact that this power meter reads so close to that for me is really promising, because in the past I've had power meters that have just been so shit and like 70 watts off, and from my point of view it's like, what's the point of having a power meter if it's not reading accurately? Like, yeah, you can still use the data and you still have an idea of what you need to push and it's for you, but I want to know what power I'm actually pushing, the same way as if I've got a heart rate monitor and I want to know what my heart rate's reading. I don't want to know like it's reading 180 but really in real life it's reading 150. Like, what is the point? So from my point of view, if you're gonna have a power meter, you may as well have one that works properly, and getting the cheapest thing you can get on the market doesn't work. I've tried that, it's useless, it's shit. Just don't do it. You're probably better off going off field than going off power, and that's my point of view if you're getting a shit one, because it's probably gonna break pretty fast and the readings you're gonna get are vastly inaccurate. Although, like I did say, if you're just using a number for reference in a race, yes, you can get away with it. But for me, myself, personally, I don't want to be getting off data that's wrong and just false, especially if I'm posting stuff online. Like, I don't want to be that guy that says, oh, I went and did a race and I pushed 370 watts when quite clearly I didn't. So for me, I want, when I'm pushing 330 watts, I want it to be 330 watts. When I'm pushing 220 watts, I want it to be 220 watts. Yes, there might be some discrepancies and it might be out a little bit, but I don't want it to be, massively, massively out. In terms of my crank length, they are actually 175, probably slightly longer than I would go with, but they came on the bike. I had a bike fit actually with a guy called Matt Bodrell, which I'll put a video on here about in the coming days, so keep an eye out for that. And he said, it's not the end of the world. My saddle height is a little bit lower than it probably would be if I had shorter cranks, but I've got away with it, it's fine. I might change it in the future, but at the moment, it's okay. Now, if we work our way up, I've got a bottle cage here. I will take this off for racing, but for training, it's quite nice because I can have 2 bottles and it keeps me sort of fueled and hydrated. In terms of brakes, they are rim brakes, and the one thing I would say about this bike is that the rim brakes aren't particularly good. So I would like disc brakes on a bike. Like I said previously, I can't justify spending thousands and thousands of pounds on a brand new bike with disc brakes, so it is what it is. Does it work? Yes. Is it the best? Probably not, no. Would I go faster downhill if I had disc brakes? Yes, almost certainly. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. So it is what it is. That's the best way I can sort of put it. Yes, it's not the most efficient, but I get away with it and it's fine. In terms of the wheels, these are actually the only new thing I've got on this bike, and I bought these recently, and these are the Hunt 60 aerodynamicists, and they read really, really good in the wind tunnel, and they are faster than a lot of the top of the range wheels, which cost a lot more than these did. One of the things that these have, which I think is really cool and impressive, is the super wide rims, and this is something that's just coming to cycling, I think, at the moment, or it's a relatively new thing. And that's with the wheels being much, much wider, and it makes them a lot more aerodynamic, I think. Like, look, I'm not going to start spurting loads of facts out because I am not a sort of aerodynamicist geek. I do really like it, and I'm really interested in the topic, but I'm not going to just make stuff up because I have no actual idea, if I'm being totally honest with you. But the data that is on the website, which I'll put on the screen now, is really, really promising, and the wheels read really, really fast against other top of the range wheels, for example, the Zips, the Mavics, those sort of things. So I'll put that there on the screen so you can see it, but yeah, they're meant to be really, really quick wheels and they're a good price as well. Now, if we work our way up to the saddle, I'm running an ISM saddle. I've had this for ages. I had this on the last TT bike. It was really comfortable, it worked, so I've just moved it over to here. And that's sort of all I can say about that. I think everyone has personal preferences when it comes to saddles, so I'm not going to say, this saddle's great, get it, because my dad's tried it and he thinks it's shit. So, works for me, that's fine. Other people like other saddles, use what works for you. In terms of the top sort of cockpit here, a lot has changed, and I'll take you guys through that now. So in terms of this riser stack, so this came with the bike when I got it, and this is quite cool because these are like 3D printed blocks, and these aren't what usually comes on the bike. So I think the guy that had previously had some custom blocks printed, and this is just a little bit more stable than the classic tiny little things that you put in here, which I'll put a picture on the screen now so you can see. But this just makes it a little bit more stable for myself. In terms of the arm cups and the extensions, these are sync, and the thing I like about the arm cups is they're very wide and quite high, so you can properly tuck into the aero position and there's very little movement. In the past, what I've found is that my arms are moving all over the place, whereas with this here, especially with the bottle in the middle, I'm very locked in and I'm not really moving all over the place, which I find makes me able to hold the position much more efficiently, and you just feel much more stable, especially going over bumps and things like that. These are slightly risen, I think it's 15 degree or something like that, and this just takes pressure and strain off my shoulders. I've had shoulder surgeries in the past, so my shoulder is a little bit weak, so having that added sort of height allows me to sort of settle into it and hold into it a little bit more efficiently than, say, just having completely flat extensions where you're going to have a lot of sort of pressure through like your rear delt and shoulder. In terms of the bottle up here, I have a drag to zero like custom bottle mount thing, which allows the bottle to go between my arms. I think this is really cool because there is no aero penalty for that. So if you're in a race and you're putting a bottle on your down tube, you've obviously got an aero penalty for that. If you've got one on the rear of your saddle, that's not going to be a penalty, but obviously if you get up and get it, it's going to cost you when you're getting in and out of the saddle to be able to get that bottle. So whereas here, I can stay in the extensions, I can drink and sort of minimize my movement. If I was doing a longer race, maybe an Ironman, I would put a bottle cage on the back just so I can take on more nutrition, and I would just sort of drink from that when I'm going up a hill and not when I'm on the flat in the TT extensions. I've got a riser, angled riser, drag to zero on my cup, underneath my cup here, which again I think is 20 degrees, which just takes pressure and strain off my shoulder and allows me to be in a little bit more of a comfy position. And having these sort of angled risers, what it allows me to do as well is close the gap between my sort of arms and my face, so I can almost tuck in like this. So it's basically less of like a parachute effect. So the more tucked in and dialed in you are, the more aerodynamic you are really, because there's less sort of space for wind to get trapped. So I think that's awesome. In terms of the comfort on the bike, I think it's great. Actually the one thing I would say is the base bars are quite low. So it feels aggressive when you're on the bike and you're just on the base bars, a lot more so than if you're just on your road bike. So, I mean, the comfort associated with it, I would say it's probably not the comfiest bike in the world, but then again, you're not getting a time trial bike to be comfy, you're getting it to be fast and aerodynamic. So does that really matter? No. Would I want to do a really easy slow ride in the mountains with it, not in the extensions? Probably not, no. But like I said, it is what it is. And I know there are some of the newer bikes apparently are a little bit more comfier to do just sort of general riding on. I would say this isn't one of those bikes. Well, almost certainly not one of those bikes. But you know what? I really like the bike. I think it's fast. I think it's very, very responsive and very stiff. And that sort of power transfer is really, really good. One thing I did forget actually is I've got a little storage thing here. This is the time trial version, so it's not a big frigging bento box. It's just a little cover over there, so I can store things like the junction box in there. And anything else I really need to, but you can't really go putting food and stuff in it and gels because you have to use an Allen key to undo it. So yeah, you know, getting an Allen key out mid-race and trying to undo this thing is definitely not what you want to be doing. But you know what, the bike itself is friggin' fast, it's awesome, I enjoy riding it. I would say also, I got a really good deal on this bike and I have got so much for my money, and I think that's the main thing here. I mean, look, I've not spent thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, so I think I've got a really good deal for my money, and I think I've got a top of the range TT bike for a phenomenal price. And I'll do another video actually of breaking the cost of this bike down, because I think that'll be really interesting. So look out for that as well in the next few days. But yeah, I think I've got a lot of value for my money, and I think it's a great bike. And if you were looking for a bike and didn't want to spend thousands and thousands, have a look on Facebook Marketplace. There's some great deals, just be a little bit careful. But I think the Giant Trinity itself is a great bike. It's a top of the range time trial bike, which is great aerodynamically and competes against other bikes that are thousands and thousands of pounds more. And it's just a really competitive bike at a competitive price, and I would recommend it to anyone. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because that would be greatly appreciated. And like we said, you never know. In the coming future, we might have a video where I get sponsored and there's a brand new shining bike with disc brakes that cost tens of thousands of pounds. But until then, it will be the Giant Trinity. And I recommend it, and I think it's great. And I will probably still recommend it even if I have a brand new disc brake shiny bike. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like I said, thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.